You are listening to Pivot Parenting, episode 218. She Never Learns. Welcome to Pivot Parenting, the place where we recognize when your parental role needs to shift and how to do it. I'm your host and parenting expert, Heather Frazier. Okay, here we go. It's summertime, and I have a coaching episode for you. Today, you're going to meet Madeleine, and she has two girls that fight. I know this is a common theme. So as you listen, I want you to let the details get fuzzy so that you can see the overall picture, the skeletal system of the situation, and how maybe it's playing out in your life, and then zoom in on your details and apply the same lessons. This is why I do coaching episodes in the summer, because coaching, you get unique insights to your own parenting through listening to what other people are doing. And in order to be coached for free on the podcast, you have to be on my email list. And can I just say, my favorite way to get people on my email list is when they buy my book and opt in to be on my email list. Madeleine mentions having read my book, and before I hit record, she said that she is going to order at least 10 to give as gifts over the holidays coming up. She's not alone in this. There are so many parents out there having massive shifts, finding peace of mind by reading my book. And it's short. It's like 100 pages. It's on sale right now on Audible for like $10. And I'm reading it to you. You can get it on my website, and I'll send you a signed copy. You can get it on Amazon if that's your jam, Barnes & Noble, Walmart.com. All the places, it's there for you. Please, please, please. It's a really, really easy investment to make for the return that you get. I promise. Okay, without further ado, here is my conversation with Maddie. Madeleine, welcome to the podcast. How are you feeling?
Good, and you, Heather. Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to get to coach you and help you wherever you need help.
Perfect.
Do you have any questions before we get started?
No, I guess we're ready to go.
Okay, how can I be most helpful for you?
Well, I have a 22-year-old daughter that she lives with us here at home. She goes to school, she goes to UVU, she takes a couple classes, and she also struggled with mental health. And she was always not that great of a big sister. And my youngest daughter, which is the teenager, she's 14, and they argue a lot. They always have. Once I had Iris, then Annika wouldn't even come close to me when I brought the baby home. So it's from that time. And I guess my situation is what would be my role? Because when the oldest one wants to correct Iris, and her excuse is that she doesn't want the younger sister to turn out like her, she attacks the sister. And for the longest time, I defended Iris, trying to protect from what I thought was a bullying that the sister was doing. And now I get to a point that Iris she might retreat, but most of the time she fights back.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how to be helpful one way or the other, because one sister will say that I'm defending one, and the other says I'm defending the other one.
Okay. Can you give me a specific instance where this happened? And we can fill in details.
All right. So, let's see. When we got back from, hmm, we had an instance just happen last week, and we got home from somewhere, and Iris was mad about something. And she was in the car with me, and she got mad at me for something. So she just walked in the house and just stormed into the house. And Annika was sitting on the couch watching the dogs for us. And then she saw me coming in, and then she started yelling at the sister because why are you upset? What are you doing? And you shouldn't do this. And she didn't even know the situation, but she can several times she cannot just control herself to not vocalize whatever she's thinking. So then Iris got even more mad. She ran across the hallway, slammed the door in her room, and then I'm trying to tell the oldest daughter to stop. And she won't stop. We'll tell her to stop. And she's like, nope. I was like, stop, you gotta stop, Annika. And she just keeps rambling and saying whatever she thinks. So then I send her downstairs. So you just go downstairs. Because we moved to a place that has, it was supposed to have a basement, complete separate basement. So she would live downstairs because she doesn't want to live by herself. But we will still have that separation where maybe they would fight less.
Mm-hmm.
But then she convinced the dad that she didn't need a full basement. That could be just a bigger place. So she goes downstairs, doesn't have a kitchen or whatever. So she still comes upstairs all the time. But I sent her downstairs and she's 22. But when she starts, she doesn't stop. And then it just gets, I was even more angry. And that's how it goes.
Okay. What was your feeling when they were fighting? And you're saying, stop, go downstairs.
Um, Usually it's a frustration or why is she doing that again? She never learns. She doesn't stop. And I just keep asking, I keep wondering, why is it so difficult for her that she cannot control herself?
Okay. So you're frustrated. And then how are you behaving towards both of your girls?
Well, I I try to control Annika. I try to make her stop. And if she doesn't stop, then I send her downstairs.
Okay.
And yeah,
Have you ever been able to control her?
no, she always does whatever she wants to do.
So even when she was little, when you brought Iris home from the hospital, you said she wouldn't even come near you.
Yeah.
Were you able to curtail her behaviors then?
Well, it was always difficult because then I had that guilt of I brought another child to this family and she got mad, right? So I carried that with me. But
Okay.
at the same time, I didn't want to let her bully the sister, even when she was little, because they have 7 years, they're 7 years apart.
Okay.
So then, but then I would defend Iris and she would get mad because I defended the sister. But I'm like, I'm not going to let you bully her.
Okay.
But in,
So it's
um,
never worked to control her.
no.
Okay. So what else was happening in this situation where you're in the car with Iris? She walked in, Annika attacked. You're frustrated.
Hmm?
You send Annika downstairs. You're trying to control her. What else is happening?
Um, Usually she does that with my husband too, but he was not in the picture at that time. He was in the bathroom, but then he came out and asked what happened. And we have that joke within us is like Annika was so mad. And we always joke around because that's how we start our conversation about our girls. I was so mad. And then we tell whatever happened.
Yeah.
So he just came in. Luckily, Annika had already gone down because otherwise she starts fighting with the dad. But in that day, on that day, he was in the bedroom. Iris was in her room. She locked herself there and stayed there. And then I I kind of didn't know what to do after that. I guess I went trying, but because I knew she was mad at me for whatever reason happened in the car, if I would go in her room, she would yell at me.
Iris or Annika?
Iris.
Okay, so you avoided Iris.
Yeah.
What
And
do you
then
normally do?
Annika just went downstairs and she goes speaking, and I'm like trying to talk over her. It's like, stop, stop, and she won't stop.
Okay. Do you usually avoid Iris or one of your girls? Is that pretty common?
Yes, I do. And that's probably why this matters to me, because when they fight, or usually, and it's not only the two of them is like, I don't know where my place is in this fight, right?
Sure.
But when most Iris now, she doesn't want anything to do with me, or she just wants me to do what I think she just needs stuff from me. That's why she's come and talk to me. Then, or she says whatever she wants to say, then I try to retreat. And I did that with Annika when she was teenager too. I tried to avoid the contact, to kind of protect myself, I guess.
Okay. Tell me about this guilt for having another child.
Yeah, because we knew that Annika never liked little kids. Never. And
Sure.
we went to church, and a little baby would come close to me. I didn't even touch that baby because I knew she was gonna flip out. And so and it's the funniest thing because I found out I was pregnant and I didn't even say anything. She looked at me and she said, "You're pregnant. You got a baby there," and pointed to my stomach. I was like,
Okay.
"Oh my goodness, how did you know that?" But she never liked little kids. She still doesn't. She
Sure.
does not. Yeah.
Sure. So why do you feel guilty for having another child?
Because I know she didn't want to have another kid or another sibling.
But why is that a problem?
Because I wanted to give her a friend. I wanted to give her what I have with my siblings. And I thought that not having another child was robbing her from that experience.
Okay, so you had another child for her.
No, I had another kind of, well, just thinking that I love to have siblings. I
Sure.
love my siblings, and I thought that would be a good experience. And I think what I see now, and I see those people put stuff on Facebook all the time, on Instagram. Oh, she's my child's the best thing that ever happened to me, or
Sure.
whatever. And I just look at that, it's like, I sometimes feel bad because I don't feel that way, but I think that's the best growth opportunity that I ever got in my life, because those relationships really push me to whatever I have to develop. So I see them
Oh, I
as a
get that.
growth. Yeah,
I get that.
yeah.
Um, okay, but seriously though, I still don't see the connect between you having a second child and feeling guilty. Because having one child and then another,
Mhm.
that's just fact.
Right.
You
But
had your
I
first
thought
child, then
that,
you had your second.
but I really wanted to have that second one. We
Yeah,
planned
sure.
and we tried for a while until we finally had another one. And I felt that it was a betrayal to her, to Annika.
How?
Well, because I knew she didn't want a sibling and I did it anyway.
Should parents consult siblings or their children if on how many siblings they have? Is that a
No,
rule?
absolutely not. No, that doesn't make sense to me. But in my situation, that's what I think.
Well, because you knew she would dislike it.
Hmm. Yeah. I remember that I told a friend
So
that,
do you never do anything that she would like or dislike?
oh no, everything I did this for the longest time, it was dislike. It was a dislike
Were
for
you
her.
doing it intentionally because she disliked it? Or you
It's
would
just
be
part
like,
of,
this is what's for dinner. And she'd be like, I don't like it. And you would feel bad that you made something she didn't like.
probably I would feel that. I would make something and I thought she liked it, but then she doesn't like it. And I was like, that's a waste of time. Why did I do this? And
Oh,
she
yeah.
doesn't even like it, right?
Yeah. You couldn't get enough of chicken nuggets last week. What happened?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So then when you're feeling this guilt because you're thinking you betrayed Annika,
Hmm.
how do you treat Annika?
Well, I try to protect her from whatever's happening. But in this case, it's the other way around. As if I'm
Just stick
applying
with
this.
me. Just stick
Yeah.
with me.
Okay.
So
I'm just
when,
trying to go that far already with
yeah,
Iris.
I'll connect them here
Yeah.
pretty, I
Uh-huh.
promise.
Okay.
When you're feeling like you betrayed her and you're feeling guilty,
Hmm.
how do you parent her?
Well, I let her do things that probably were not best for her, or I was a little, I wouldn't say lenient, but I would be
Permissive,
less
maybe?
strict. Yeah. And just kind of try to avoid a little bit again.
Okay. And then how would you behave towards Iris when you were feeling guilty that you had her?
Well, that didn't ever affect me because Iris was, the second, she was just the biggest delight of life. She was like super cute and all that. So that probably made Annika even madder.
Sure.
And
How do you still have this guilt though of having her? Like it
no, I
sounds
don't. That was
no?
a lot of work I did on myself
Okay.
to accept that, both of them are in each other's lives for a reason. Because after I had Iris, she was such a delight that we thought, let's have a third.
Sure.
So then we did IVF, we did all sorts of things. And it was the craziest thing. I went to get a blessing from my bishop, and he looked at me and said, "You're not going to have another child." And I'm like,
Wow.
okay. So then I got home, I stopped the car, I cried, I came inside, I said, Bishop said I'm not gonna have another child. But we tried anyway. We're like,
Sure.
well, we tried everything. And then I lost a child, right? And now with the two fighting so much, because Iris was 3, right? And the two fighting so much, my husband and I look at each other and said, Heavenly Father knows what he does. Because I would have not made it through if I had a third in the middle of this chaos.
Okay. Okay.
So there's not guilt there with Iris. No, it's I just got really shocked by the change of personality from when she's little to preteen. That shocked me because Annika was always a preteen. She was that way from
She
the
came
time
out of
she
the
was
womb
born.
moody.
Yeah, she's already moody, as you can tell, because it wasn't like, oh, she doesn't like kids, and then her sister came and everything was fine. No, she was even madder
Yeah.
because with little kids.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So let's go back to the incidents you were just talking about, how you're in the car and then Iris
Okay.
walked in and
Mm-hmm.
that whole debacle. Okay. So you're feeling frustrated
Hmm.
because it's the same thing happening, right?
Yes.
And you're thinking she literally never learns. Neither of them are learning any new tricks here.
Yeah.
So you're feeling frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking, why doesn't it work? You're trying to control Annika. You're joking with your husband. You're avoiding Iris. You're kind of talking over and you don't know where your place is.
Yeah.
And it sounds like this is typically what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you're actually never learning
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
because
Yep.
of the confusion,
Doing the
because of
same
the
thing.
overwhelm. Yeah, you're just doing everybody's doing like, well, here's our dance. And you
Mm-hmm.
and your husband are even joking about the dance.
Yeah.
Like, well,
Yeah.
Annika was mad.
Uh-huh.
Like,
Yeah.
fancy that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's not because of your girls.
Mm-hmm.
It's because of your desire for them to be different, but you're unwilling to be different.
Yeah. This is just so hard because mentally I can see that,
Mhm.
and it's so hard to separate that's not them.
Totally, totally. And especially because I'm sure that your nervous system engages,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
that's why you're shutting down and just avoiding,
Yeah.
right? Or you're like talking over them, trying to get it to stop, bouncing between fight, flight, and freeze of like, how do I make it stop?
Mhm.
The trick here is to disengage your nervous system so that you can be logical,
Right. Yeah. Because
right?
at
Like,
that moment that there's no rationality happening anywhere.
no, because everybody's nervous systems are in the red.
Mhm.
And so you're just a bunch of incited nervous systems bumping up against each other.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that's why nothing's changing.
Mhm.
And so what you need to do is realize that while it's not fun, it's also not dangerous,
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Mhm.
right? In the sense that they might be saying rude things to you or to each other,
Mhm.
but it's fine.
Yeah.
It's not a problem.
Mhm.
And now what is my best move?
Right.
Right?
And I think I saw this in your book, and I relate to that because it took me a long time to stop saying that that was happening because I created a situation that was my fault that they were like that. So
Yeah.
I had to disengage, which I don't think about that anymore. I don't think they are who they are because they have their agencies,
Yep.
and it's not a reflect on me for being a good bad parent.
Nope.
So I don't take that blame, but I understand that I'm a part of the situation because I play my part of the dance just like they do.
Sure. And I totally get not wanting contention. I hate contention.
Mhm. Yeah.
But when you're talking over them, when you're saying, stop, 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 like if it hasn't worked yet, it's probably not going to work.
Yeah.
I
It's
don't know, just a guess.
yeah. I
Um,
have some experience, like 22 years of experience.
yeah, yeah. But when you're calm, you
Mhm.
can think creatively. A lot of times, for example, we'll have family over, and I have these two youthful family members who will remain nameless and unidentifiable. And sometimes they are a little bit physical. And I was trying to get dinner on the table and they were physically fighting in my kitchen and they like knocked over the dog food. And I asked them politely, please take it outside.
Hmm?
Please take it outside. And then I was right by the sink. And so I just turned the hose on them and I sprayed them in the face until they stopped. I was like, bummer that you didn't listen because now you're all wet. Like next
Uh-huh.
time, take it outside.
Yeah.
But if I would have been triggered and like, oh
Mhm.
my gosh, what's like it would have just been fuel to the fire. But instead, I was like, this could be fun. I'm going to spray
Uh-huh.
him and see what happens. They stopped pretty quick.
Yes.
I was actually surprised that they didn't stop as quickly as I imagined, as I would have been if I was being squirted in the face. Um,
I love it.
but you can think more creatively. You can troubleshoot boundaries. And one thing that I would really suggest is when nobody's upset to
Mhm.
have logical conversations of, do we like this about our family culture? Who enjoys that here? Raise your hand
Right.
if you love it when you're being yelled at.
Mhm. And we've done this in front of therapy. We
Yeah.
had, because the past year had been crazy with Iris, so we had to attend weekly family therapy. And all those things were brought up, but we didn't seem to get a consensus of what to do. But because of him, just working in my mind and learning things, so I start learning how to not engage. And it's just like you said, because the nervous system is so triggered that I engage and then I made it worse.
Yeah. And there's not engaging, and then there's engaging with your nervous system, and then there's
Mhm.
also engaging in a regulated space.
Right. Just like the spray.
Yes. And as
Uh-huh.
the mom and intimately acquainted with the situation, you're going to know which one is available to you and which one's your best option
Right.
in any given situation.
Hmm.
That's great that you're talking about it in therapy. If you
Hmm.
didn't come to a consensus, continue the conversation.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is, though, is that you can't, you'll never come to a consensus if the goal is that arguments don't happen.
Right. Right. That is not
Right.
possible.
So
Uh-huh.
it has to be like when these things happen, this is our protocol.
Hmm.
Um, because we can't manage how our kids react and behave in certain
Right.
situations.
Yeah. This is really true. We learned, well, the Iris learned tools from DBT, and during therapy they taught us those tools as well.
Yeah.
But you can imagine that she's a teenager with a brain that's developing, so she doesn't go for that when time comes.
Yeah, no, because her nervous system is engaged.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. One there's a game that I introduce my clients to. Super
Mm-hmm.
fun. It's called Red Light, Green Light.
Uh-huh.
It's not like the yard game that little kids play.
Uh-huh.
Um, but essentially it's a game of engagement.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can see that you are triggered, that your nervous system is in the red,
Mm-hmm.
you say red light and you remove yourself from the situation until you're a green light,
Okay.
until you can talk about it. Or if you recognize that somebody else is in the red, you can say, you're a red light
Mm-hmm.
and we don't need to talk about this right now. And we're going to have the conversation later. And so, yeah, if they won't stop talking, then you can remove yourself and
Mm-hmm.
any other party from the area or whatever. Like they can stay
Yeah.
in the room and talk all that they want, but you don't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily have to listen.
Yeah. We try several of those things, and the one that we learned, it was a code word to not engage with that person when they were
That's a
not
great one
ready to
too.
talk.
Yeah.
It was, for us, was Stitch, because the therapist had a little Stitch.
Oh, like
So
Lilo
I
and
was like
Stitch.
the Stitch, but it doesn't matter, because if you say Stitch, all Iris does is not talk about it at all. She's like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. Right. And then we don't re-engage in that conversation. Those things never work with Annika. Annika will never stop. And it might be because of the difficulties that she has with ADHD and other mental health issues, but we know that she can control herself because she works, and she doesn't do this at work. She, in other circumstances, she will not engage like that.
Yeah. And you're always welcome to remove yourself from the
Yeah.
situation. You can
Hmm.
say the code word, and if she doesn't stop, that's
Hmm.
fine.
Yeah.
It can be the code word that we are now leaving and we'll come back.
Yeah. Yeah. That is true.
Yeah.
But I also think that when it's time that they need the most connection, I'm giving this as punishment, her not having connection with me. Sometimes I wonder that.
That's fair.
Right.
Um,
Dr. John Deloney talks about that. When we do that with little kids, when they, like, we put them in timeout or whatever, they're dysregulated, they need the connection, and our absence now becomes the tool that we use to separate them.
yeah, yeah. They aren't little
It's
kids.
interesting, isn't it?
It is interesting.
Yeah.
They aren't little kids, and
Mm-hmm.
she's been
Yeah.
taught tools to regulate.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And you have to set up boundaries so
Mm-hmm.
that they understand which behaviors are socially acceptable and which are not.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, as the mom, yeah, that is totally your intuition of
Mm-hmm.
what you find to be most helpful in any given situation.
Yeah.
Um, the
And as
biggest,
a person as well,
yeah,
because I think, the disrespect, right? If I see that as a disrespect, then I can walk away. I don't need to be taught like that. I don't need to be whatever.
Yeah. I think that it's important to circle back and have the conversations
True.
with them when they're willing, when nervous systems aren't triggered. But
Yeah.
your biggest problem that you have control to shift here is the belief that she never learns,
Yeah. Mhm.
because that's self-prophesying for you,
Right.
because
Mhm.
she's in her own little hamster wheel of like doing the
Mhm.
same thing, and that's what you're repeating as well.
Right. Yeah. Because we just engage, just like you said, we engage in the same dance. Everybody knows their part very well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and when you make an alteration to your steps in that dance, it
Mhm.
makes it hard for them to do the same steps because they
Right.
aren't in sync any longer.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so as the parent, you get to go first in learning new tricks.
Absolutely. Thank you. That is really helpful. Always good to remember that I can do that. And she
What
can learn too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Why am
that
I putting this limit on her that she cannot learn?
exactly.
And who said that she has to learn today, right? It might be years. I don't know.
Well, and it might not be she's learning, the way that you think she will. Maybe
Right.
she'll learn in different ways,
Yeah.
but that's for her to figure out.
Mhm.
And you get to learn things that are most helpful to you. And again, that's going to be easiest to you
Mhm.
when you can address it from a nervous system that isn't dysregulated.
Right. That is true. Mhm.
And just for the sake of time, I won't
I know. You're
teach
good.
you
Go ahead.
modalities, but
Uh-huh.
you can Google how to regulate your nervous system. There's
Uh-huh.
tapping, there's breathing, there's,
Mhm.
screaming and dancing. Like there's so many different ways that you can bring your nervous system back into alignment.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, have a handful in your pocket that work for you and
Mhm.
whip
Yep.
them out. You can teach your girls when
Mhm.
they are in a state of receiving.
Yes, absolutely. Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, do you have any thoughts or questions?
No, I think that this is good. Thank you. That's helpful because I have to see my part, and that's what I have control of.
Yeah. Yep.
Thank you so much, Heather.
Yep. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Heather is the one, an expert in the field. She knows her parenting.